Hey, Damon DeMarco here for The Right Stuff Pro. That is therightstuff.pro. Question asked to me, how do you craft really great characters in narrative writing? Excellent question. Before I get into this, I'd like to touch on what a lot of people misconceive characters to be. They think that a character is a person's appearance. I suspect that has a lot to do with our media age where everybody's watching streaming services all the time, movies, TV series, and so forth. They think there's a visual representation of the character, and that's the most important part about them. It is not. To me, a character is really a collection of 5 different things. A character is what the character does, the action, what they say, how they do it, and I'll go into that in a second. What other people, other characters say about them, that's 4 things. The 5th thing is what the character represents, and that gets a bit more allegorical, but let's go into those very briefly. Action is everything. Let's give you a scenario for a second. There's a child who is clinging by their hands on the edge of a cliff. Perilous situation, and they're calling for help. 2 people approach the child, 2 characters. Let's not even go into what they look like. Doesn't matter at this point. Let's just look at their actions. One immediately runs up to the child, grabs hold of them, and even though they could be pulled over the edge of the cliff, they try to help the child. They put their own life at risk to help the child. That's one character. That's the action that they do, selflessly to help the child. The other character goes up to the child and looks at their tiny hands gripping the brink of the precipice and steps on their fingers. What's the difference here? Well, the difference is their action. They chose different actions to respond to the same situation. Character is what someone does. We say this in life all the time. We judge people by their character, right? What we mean is, how do they respond in given situations? If somebody gets in their face, are they calm? Are they relaxed? Are they stalwart? Or do they, themselves, when confronted with strife, ratchet up their own agitation and respond in that way? It's character, it's action, it's how a person responds to circumstances. Now, the second point of character is what a person says. That's very much related to action, because really what people say is utterly superfluous. Words mean nothing. The last part of any novel, screenplay, stage play, television pilot is writing the dialogue. You might make notes for dialogue along the way, but dialogue is, by and large, the last ornament that you hang on the tree of your story, regardless of which shape it takes. I'm trying to say that character is action, we've just shown that, but when it comes to what a character says, their dialogue, their words, that's actually kind of it's related to action. Do you see what I'm saying? If I poke fun of you, well, then the words that I use are going to be corresponding to that action. Dialogue is, in a sense, action. It is guided by, it is propelled by action. If I buck you up, hey, come on, you're great. Don't get down on yourself. That's an action. The words that I use, whatever I use, hey, don't get down on yourself, whatever, they glide along on the action. So yes, point number 2 of how to create great characters in a narrative can be about dialogue, sure, but really dialogue is subservient to action. The third way that I pointed out is how a character does something. And that could have a lot to do with being snide. It could be with being subservient. It could be about, throw in an adjective here, overbearing, meticulous. As a matter of fact, here's a little story. I want to cut to this so that you can see how using an adjective can really electrify and simplify your character work. This is a little snippet that I churned up for my Break Your Story online course, and it shows you how to simplify character work by taking away all the stuff that is absolutely unnecessary and going with the essence or the core of a character. Watch this. You know, when I was in graduate school, I worked with William Esper, who is one of the world's greatest trainers of actors. He had worked in turn for 17 years, I think it was, with Sandy Meisner. Bill was his chief disciple. Bill forgot more about acting and storytelling than I think most people will ever know in their lives. And he told us us this story one time. As a young man, he was directing a play that Sandy had given him. And since Bill had never directed a play before, he started filling up all these notebooks about all these ideas that he had for each character, and pages and pages and pages and pages, hundreds of pages for every character in the play that he was directing. So 3 or 4 weeks into the process, Sandy said, well, how's your rehearsal coming? And Bill said, oh, I think I got it. I think I totally got it. And Sandy said, well, let me come take a look at things and see how it's going. And so Sandy sat in the theater and he watched this play rehearsal take place, and he was like, my God, this is awful. These characters, that they're flat, they're dead, they're like zombies up on what did you do to them? And Bill said, Sandy, I worked really, really hard to come up with this incredibly detailed character sketch of each character. And Sandy said, I think you might have worked a little too hard. Sandy pointed to one of the actors on the stage and he said, could you tell me about your character, please? And the actor said, oh, well, Bill and I worked out that my character he grew up in Russia during the 19th century, and as a child, he was really good at the xylophone. And his favorite color is blue, and he's blood type B positive. And Sandy's like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? That doesn't matter at all. You can't activate that. That's not about character. Those are just like details. Like, how many packets of sugar do you want in your coffee? It's not essential. You know what you are, Sandy said? He said, you're a brown noser. Whenever the boss of this enterprise that you work for comes around, you're like, hey boss, hey, can I do anything for you? How are you today? Can I shine your shoes? Is everything okay? Can I get you some lunch? That's who you are. That's all you need to know. The essential things about the character. And then Sandy turned to the next actor and he said, well, what about you? What's your character? And he said, well, I grew up in Russia, and so my father was a glover, and he was also an alcoholic. But he died when I was 5, so I never really knew him. And my favorite color is green, and I've always liked to take walks in a field. And Sandy's like, but who cares? No, that's got nothing to do with character whatsoever. That's just superfluous detail. You know what your character is? You're a good time Charlie. You want everybody to have a good time. You can't walk into a room without patting everybody on the back and say, hey, what's going on? Hey, how are you today? Hey, how's the wife and kids? Is everything good? Yeah, I'm okay. Hey, why don't you come over to my place for a beer afterwards? Is everybody having a good time today? Everybody having a great time? That's something that you can activate. That's the most important part of any character, is finding the essence of the character. Nobody cares what their favorite color is or any of that stuff. That's nonsense. And a lot of writers want to just kind of put that in there because they feel like they're accomplishing something. Oh, it's my zodiac sign. Who cares? It's not essential. Make sure that you're sticking to the stuff that's essential. Like the character of Han Solo, for instance. If he was your protagonist, who is he? And I'm using this example because everybody knows the Star Wars film. He's a rogue. He's a little slimy. He's a pirate. He's a mercenary. His moral fiber is very, very questionable. He'll do anything for a buck. He's a survivor. So these are things that you can actually work with as a character if you pin them down. What his favorite color is, his boot size, the type of blaster that he likes to. Who cares about that? It really doesn't matter. The essence of the character is who they are at their core, and that's what you want to get to in this work here. By the way, the moment Sandy gave this direction to the actors, suddenly they came to life on the stage. They had something very specific and concrete that they could work with, and very simple, like a 1 or 2 word explanation of who they were and what they wanted. And it was like opening a magic box. Suddenly all this life came out of the characters. Up until then, they were just dead weight, because there's really no way that you can activate things like your favorite color or your boot size or any of that stuff. What's your waist size? How is that going to inform your behavior in any way, shape, or form? Does it tell you what you want in life? Does it tell you what your inner wants and external needs are? No. It's superfluous detail, which is what we want to avoid in this case. Do you get the idea? Great. The fourth thing that I mentioned about how to build great characters in a narrative is